Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Wealth Guardians radio show. I'm glad that you decided to spend some of your weekend with us. Of course, we've got Brice Payne here in the studio with us. Brice, good morning, bud. What's up?
Good morning, Doug. Spring is right around the corner, isn't it? I'm feeling it.
I'm dying for it.
Yeah.
And I'm sick of the rain.
Enough rain, enough snow. Just let's get some sunshine, get those birds calling out here again, and start having a Carolina spring and a Carolina summer. Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing out there?
Hopefully they're seeing some Carolina blue sky.
That would be nice. That would be nice. Well, we've got a great show lined up for you out there today, folks. We are going to be talking about, for the first segment of the show, conventional wisdom. And whenever I hear that term, conventional wisdom, Doug, I'm struck by something that Jerry Seinfeld once said about the human brain. And he used the analogy or the metaphor of, I guess it wasn't a metaphor. I never know the difference between analogies, similes, and metaphors, whatever. But he was using the idea of human beings have a really smart brains. And we do things that are so stupid, like going on a motorcycle, which I do, that we have to protect our brains, our really smart brains, from doing something so stupid. And not only that, but because we don't want to protect our brains, we have to create laws that force us to protect our brains, like creating a law that makes us wear a motorcycle helmet. And I'm sure that Jerry Seinfeld said it a little bit funnier than I did, but I always thought that was kind of a rather astute observation, that our brains are smart, but we have to pass laws to make us protect them. But conventional wisdom, Doug, doesn't always seem so conventional, does it?
It does not. And we see a lot of that pop up in our line of work from time to time, like you can't go wrong with real estate. Well,
there's a lot of them. There's a lot of conventional wisdom out there that falls into the realms of what we do, financial planning, retirement planning. And as I said, conventional wisdom isn't always that conventional. Sometimes somebody will come in here having heard absolutely their entire life something that you and I have never heard of, or just are absolutely flabbergasted that somebody would believe. But you can't go wrong with real estate. That's the first one. And folks, I can tell you out there, that is not true. So if that's your idea of conventional wisdom, there are some inaccuracies to that. Doug, real estate goes up and down in value just like every other commodity and every other investment out there.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, it's kind of a hard asset, and it's kind of moves sort of with inflation. And, there's a lot of people made a lot of money in real estate. The President of the United States is one of them. And the thing about real estate is, though, if you're a landlord, how do you get out of it? Because, if you're going to have a capital gain, there's taxes involved. You've depreciated the property, so you've got to, if you sell it, you've got to recapture that depreciation. So there's a huge tax bill on the other side of the real estate deal.
Yeah, if you can find me an investment that you can't go wrong with, I'm all in. But so far, I've been in this field for 10 years. You've been in the field for 30 years. I haven't seen one yet, an investment that you can't go wrong in. So
no, and I mean, like I said, real estate's good for some people. I tried it. I was a landlord for about 10 years. It wasn't my cup of tea. I got sick and tired of, changing garbage disposals, and every time a tenant moved out, I had to go in and paint and, put carpet in, and it was, I just hated it, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, and there's statements out there, there's ads out there now saying no matter what the market, it's always a landlord's market. Well, that's not true. There are times when it is not a landlord's market, and you'd be better off having your investments in something else. All right, Doug. Well, the second one, so we know that that's not true, that you can go wrong with real estate. The second bit of conventional wisdom out there, so to speak, is there's good debt and bad debt, and a mortgage is actually good debt. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I guess it could be. Mortgage interest is a tax-deductible item so long as you have enough to, that goes over the standard deduction. But honestly, in our specialty is retirement planning. And most people who come to us don't want to have debt going into retirement. And I agree with that. I especially agree that you shouldn't have a mortgage on your house when you go into retirement. For some folks, that's okay, but for the most people, they just want to be debt-free. Because if you're debt-free, I'll tell you what, your assets, your Social Security, and if you got a pension, that goes a long way in making a nice retirement.
Well, we've done countless retirement and financial plans for our clients over the years, Doug, and That is one of the key factors to there being a successful retirement plan, one that means that you're successfully living retirement out through your years the way you want to, or one that is keeping it from being successful. And one of the few key aspects that comes down to it is, do you have debt? If you have debt, that's going to be a big hindrance to that retirement plan being successful. So you're absolutely right. If you can get out of your mortgage, get out of any kind of debt, certainly credit card debt, but even your car loans or student loans, you get out of those by the time you're in retirement, then you're on a good track to having a successful retirement. There's some other factors that need to be considered as well. But I would say, instead of saying that there's good debt and bad debt, I think it would be more accurate to say there is debt and there is bad debt and there is really bad debt. I don't know that there's any debt that's really good to have, but there is some definitely that works less against you than other debts.
You know, I think Dave Ramsey would like to listen to our show today.
Yeah, well, he's welcome to. He knows where to find us. I've emailed him many times telling him to chime in, but he never does. All right, the third conventional wisdom out there, Doug. Retirement is a chance to relax after an exhausting career.
Well, it is for a lot of people. We tell all of our clients, enjoy your money, because if you don't, your kids will. But the fact of the matter is, we have these embedded instincts in us that go back thousands of years to when we were hunter-gatherer types, and that is to be active. Now, what your vision of retirement is, maybe it's volunteer work, maybe it's travel, but you want to be active. You definitely don't want to sit on the front porch in a rocking chair, because that is no way to spend a retirement. Well,
everyone's different, to each their own, but I think you're right that we envision that. We envision just being able to finally relax and not have anything that we have to do. But you'll find, I think what we see our clients find, and I can imagine this for myself as well, that would get old pretty quick. And that brings me to something I'd like to mention that I'm looking forward to myself at some point down the road, and I see other people doing this and it really works out well, is phased retirement. If you've been working 40 hours a week and then the next you suddenly retire and now you're working 0 hours a week, that can be a pretty big shock to the system. And again, you've never worked 0 hours, and most people haven't worked 0 hours a week. So that's as I say, a pretty big shock to the system. But if you do a phased retirement, where maybe you're working 40 hours a week and then the next year you knock it down to 30 and then the next year you knock it down to 20. Can you imagine that every year that you do that, that seems like you're almost retired, just only having to work 30 hours instead of 40. Doesn't that seem like a retirement kind of in and of itself? Now you've got your Fridays off, or you get off work at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon as opposed to 5 o'clock. That is a huge benefit to you. And then each year you do that, you're slowly moving into retirement, and that's a lot less shock to the system. And you can relax a few hours more out of the week without suddenly not having anything to do. Anyway, we see more and more people doing that. I think that's going to become kind of, Doug, a wave of the future. And it certainly helps out retirement plans as well. And speaking of retirement plans, folks, I want to do a little reminder for you that our firm, the Wealth Guardians, the Ray Financial firm, we are fiduciaries. We are retirement specialists. We are financial planners, and we operate on the fiduciary standard. Usually we say that at the beginning of the show, but we save it until now for you. One of the things that we do about every other month or so is we put on a Social Security seminar. The reason that we do this is because it is key for you, if you're approaching retirement, to understand what is the optimized way for you to file for Social Security. And Doug, we are putting on one of our seminars, and we have a special guest coming up here this next time that we're putting it on.
Yep, coming back to us is Hamilton Morales. I always call Hamilton our
living, breathing,
walking, talking encyclopedia of Social Security.
Yes, he is.
He's the guy, if you guys call us with a question and you stump us, he is the guy we turn to. So Hamilton will be with us both nights, March 10th and 12th at 6:30 p.m. right here in Clemens in the Broyhill. And to reserve your seat, and you need to call to reserve your seat, it's 336-391-3409, 336-391-3409. You can also go on our website at www.thewealthguardians.com. get that seat. Hamilton will be here, and I want you to try to stump him because I've never been able to stump him.
Try to stump Hamilton. I dare you. You cannot do it. Okay, well, it is time for the trivia question before we go to break here. Every week we ask a trivia question, and since we're coming quickly upon an election period of our point in history here, I thought that I would throw out a democracy in action question. So, Doug, there is a very good chance that Trump will get reelected, and he would be running his second term then. And we also had the president before him have 2 terms, and we had the president before him have 2 terms, and we had the president before him have 2 terms. Clinton, Bush Jr., Bush W., and Obama all had 2 terms. When was the last point in history that we had 3 consecutive presidents
good question.
have 2 terms in office? Well, we're going to get that answer to you when we come back after the break. Let's see, what else do we have to say here before we go to break, Doug? Anything?
Well, again, let's just remind everybody about the Social Security workshop. We do them about 2, 3 to 4 times a year because we know for the next 15 years we're going to have 10,000 baby boomers retiring every single day.
That's amazing.
Everybody needs to know about their Social Security benefits. It's complex. When do you file for it? Do you do it at 62, 66, or wait till 70?
Or do you just synchronize it completely with your retiring? You get a lot of people come in and sit down with us, and they confuse those 2 terms, retiring and taking Social Security. Mm-hmm. Well, they're actually 2 very different things, and more often than not, the optimized way of filing for your benefits so that you're getting the most benefits that you're entitled to is not to necessarily synchronize that with the day that you stop working, and particularly if you're doing phased retirement. So, folks, come on down, register with us. Again, 336-391-3409. We'll get you put on the list, and we look forward to seeing you there. So it's time for us to go up against a break, and we will be back in just a minute to talk about some more conventional wisdom and some other great topics about retirement planning, and we'll get you the answer to that trivia question. Stay tuned.
You're listening to The Wealth Guardian Show with Doug Ray and Brice Payne, serving you in the Triad and beyond. Let's get back to the show.
And welcome back to the Wealth Guardians radio show. This is the show where we help you retire the job but keep the paycheck. So for our listeners out there who are 5 to 7 years from retirement, and you want to just take a moment and confirm that you're actually making the best decisions for retirement, well, the good news is that we offer a no-cost, no-obligation second review. So again, you can review the job, retire the job, not review the job, retire the job and keep the paycheck. And if that sounds like something you might be interested in, then you can give us a call at 336-391-3409. That's 336-391-3409. Doug and I would be happy to sit down with you and do that second opinion for you.
Brice, I can't guarantee this, but I can pretty much say right up front, it will be the most thorough analysis that they ever go through.
I don't recall somebody coming in here and saying, well, you guys did a good job, but I've actually had one done more thoroughly than this before. When was the last time somebody ever said that to us?
No, it hasn't happened. And you know what? The best part of it all? Absolutely free. No obligation.
No cost, no obligation? That doesn't make sense. Well, it is true, Doug. Very true. All right, folks. Well, in our first half of our show, we were talking about conventional wisdom and what passes for conventional wisdom anyway, and the faults and follies with that in the financial world, the retirement planning world. In our second part of our show here today, we're going to talk about decision-making impediments. But first, I know you were all sticking around because you heard that trivia question before the break.
I'm anxious to hear this one.
Doug doesn't know the answer to this.
I do not know the answer. I thought I did, but I do not know.
Okay, so the question was, we had the last 3 presidents, and we might be setting up for a 4th here, to be incumbent presidents, to serve 2 terms, their maximum terms. You had Bill Clinton serve 2 terms, you had George Bush Jr. serve 2 terms, and you had Barack Obama serve 2 terms. When was the last time in American history that you had 3 incumbent presidents consecutively serve both their terms? And Doug, you want to even try to take a guess at it?
Well, it's got to be a while ago because Ike was 2 terms, but then Kennedy was assassinated. Nixon had to resign. LBJ didn't even run.
Yeah. Right.
Wow. Where are we there?
It's never happened before.
Really?
It has never happened before.
Oh, good one, Brice.
So the fact that we might have a fourth one is really pushing the boundaries. So yeah, the only times in history, there's too many to count, where there were 2 consecutive presidents serving both their terms, but there has never been a third. Obama was the first to be the 3rd consecutive president. So yeah, I thought I'd throw that one out there since we're in an election year here. All right, folks, I wonder if we stumped you or who out there knew that and raised their hand and said, I know that has never happened before. Well, there you go. It has not. All right, so let's move on to the second half of our show, decision-making impediments. All right, so for some people out there, the biggest problem with their financial planning isn't that they're making the wrong decisions. It's that they often fail to make decisions at all. But sometimes, what do you have to do? You just have to fish or cut bait. You have to make a decision and move forward in some form or another. So that's what we want to discuss are some of the things that can cause the decision-making process to stall out. And Doug, let's talk about too many decisions to make, just feeling overwhelmed.
Well, we see this quite a bit when we're doing the retirement planning for people. They come in and they just get overwhelmed with trying to make a decision. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, when do you take Social Security? When are you going to retire? What
a lot of times you'll have a pension. What are those pension options that you have?
Are you going to downsize? I mean, there's a ton of stuff to think about. And people just kind of they get that deer in the headlight look.
Yeah.
But you got to push through that. I mean, I remember back to my Navy days flying the plane. I mean, you had to make one decision after the other. And sometimes they were wrong. But then you had to come up with another decision to correct that.
Yeah.
And you got time in retirement. I mean, you can make a wrong decision and still come out on top of it as long as you correct it. That's why we have annual reviews with clients, because we want to make sure that you're staying on track and on focus and on plan.
Yeah, those are key decisions, absolutely. All right, so too many decisions to make. The next one is too much research. So if you're researching different financial vehicles on the internet, you can find a justification to invest in just about anything. I mean, for Pete's sakes, the internet is a blessing, but boy, Doug, is it a curse as well. I mean, you could go out there, if you didn't know any better, you could go on the internet and you could find evidence that the earth is flat.
Oh, sure.
At this point.
And this goes back to, again, there's just too much out there, and it causes people, what is it called?
Analysis paralysis.
Yes, absolutely. And people just get overwhelmed with it. So, yeah, you've got to turn to professionals to help guide you. I mean, if you get sick, you go to a doctor, right?
Right.
So it's no different in your retirement. You've got to go to a professional, somebody who specializes in retirement planning, to make sure you're doing the right things.
I've got a doctor friend. I'll say hi to him. Hi, Wayne, out in Hawaii. He's setting himself up to live the retirement dream. I tell you, he's going to be sailing to Fiji every once in a while and surfing out there and everything. But right now, he's a doctor in the ER, and he's got a coffee mug, Doug, and it says, "Please don't confuse your Google search with my medical degree."
I love it.
Because there's no shortage of people who will say, well, I hear what you're saying, Doc, but, I went onto that Google machine and I think I know what I'm talking about too. So that's, you can find any contrary evidence or factual basis to go against anything that a professional would say, not just in the financial field, but any field out there. If somebody told you, hey, if you want to fly a plane, this is how you've got to fly it, you could go on the internet and find something that says the exact opposite. And I use that one for you, Doug, since you were at one point a great aviator.
Every time I've gone on WebMD, I've gotten myself totally confused, so I don't even go there anymore.
You're convinced that you have just about everything that you read?
Yeah.
I've got that.
I don't feel too good today. What is this?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
All right, the next one is general confusion, and that one's a common one too. It kind of relates to all the others, but it is not always as simple of a conversation. The solutions to planning for retirement are not just cut and dry and black and white, and it's very easy to understand all the moving parts of them. So it's easy for somebody to get kind of glazed over. They're not experts in our field. The terminology that we use, we try to speak at your level, obviously, but we see no shortage of people who are really, again, we're going to use that word on all three of these, overwhelmed by the conversation. And I think you and I do a very good job at taking the conversation down to whoever we're speaking to, down to their level. We meet with people of all different backgrounds of financial awareness and planning. But general confusion plays into that as well, Doug. It's not always a real easy conversation to understand.
Well, one of the things I think we pride ourselves in is educating folks. That's why we do this radio show. That's why we have workshops all the time. That's why we spent the first part of the year doing Secure Act and taxes and retirement workshops to educate you folks so you're not confused. And we've got a Social Security workshop coming up that I've got to promote because I want you there. I want you to come see us because Social Security is a foundational element of your retirement. It's going to be March the 10th, March the 12th at 6:30 p.m. It's going to be in the Broyhill Office and Convention Center in Clemens. And backed by popular demand is Hamilton Morales. Hamilton has shared the stage with me in these workshops, I guess probably 3 of the last 4 years. He's been a huge hit with attendees, and he'll be there both nights. So call us at 336-391-3409, 336-391-3409. Get your seat reserved today.
And by the way, I'll add as well, Doug, you and I are both certified with the National Social Security Association, and it was Hamilton who taught us and got us our certifications on that. All right. Well, the next decision-making impediment is they just don't like talking about money. And we have seen this as well.
It's interesting. Out of a couple, there's usually one of the two who does the money thing.
Yes.
And the other one just doesn't want to touch it.
Yes.
And it's important for a couple to come in and be on the same page when you're talking about your retirement plan, because obviously you're going to go into retirement together. And I want everybody who comes to see us to understand what's going on in their retirement, understand where the money's coming from. What day of the month is it going to hit your checking account? What accounts is it coming out of? What's the most tax efficient way to draw your retirement income?
And do charitable giving from.
And charitable giving, absolutely. Both folks, both couples have to be
a part of that conversation.
A part of the conversation, exactly. Yeah. And I get it. I know this is not some people's cup of tea, but it's important. It's there. It's the rest of your life. It's your golden years.
Just because you don't like talking about it does not mean that it's going to go away. There are certain medical procedures I don't like, but that doesn't mean that I can just ignore them either. Yeah, good point, Doug. It's everybody and every couple is a little bit different, but it's not uncommon at all to see the financial part fall in the wheelhouse of one of the two rather than them sharing it equally. I know my household is like that. And the last topic that we're going to talk about here before we send everybody off on their way for the rest of the weekend is traumatic life events. A decision-making impediment is traumatic life events. Doug?
Well, we see that a lot. It could be anything from the death of a loved one to facing a major surgical operation to a divorce. It's a lot of things. Life happens, right? And, you have to work through that as well. I've been in the business now 32 years, and unfortunately in the last several years we've started to see some of our clients leave us, and that's just a natural part of life. And I hate it because, we go through kind of a period of mourning too, because when they pass away, they literally are part of our extended family. And you hate to see stuff like that when folks come in and tell us, we just had this happen, that they're potentially facing a life-threatening illness. It's tough. It's a hard time. And you got to understand that. You got to be compassionate about it, but it's never easy.
It is not. Yeah, we're working with a couple right now who has a developmentally disabled son who is challenging both financially and time-wise, and that has altered their life plans. And I think that they have been struggling to come to terms with what that might mean for them retirement-wise. But again, just because you ignore the subject does not mean that retirement is not coming upon you at some point, and you just assume plan for that, then not plan for it. Well, again, folks, that is going to be about the end of our show here. So we talked today about decision-making impediments and conventional wisdom, or the foes and follies of conventional wisdom. We are the Wealth Guardians radio show. We are fiduciaries. We specialize in retirement planning and financial planning. If you would like to meet with us, or if you would like to register for our Social Security seminar, give us a call at 336-391-3409. We hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Take care, and we will see you back on here next week.
Thanks for listening to The Wealth Guardian Show. Remember, if you need any help with crafting your financial and retirement plan, to reach out to the great team at Wealth Guardians by calling 336-391-3409. That's 336-391-3409. Or go online to thewealthguardians.com.